visionary fiction is all about transformation of consciousness.
And helps us reach and show what the eyes can't see, but the inner soul can comprehend.
It's a way to explore the lived experience of the spiritual life in a real way.
Allows people to step into the story.
And about our consciousness and awareness of what it is to be a human being.
Welcome one and all to the Visionary Fiction Author Interview Series with your host, Aaron Yeagle, a little horse for the wear. Sponsored by the Visionary Fiction Alliance, whose mission is to, among other things, help readers discover, explore, and enjoy visionary fiction, and be a place where readers can find visionary books and engage in discussion with authors. This week's interview is with the author of the 3-book series, Awakening Earth Chronicles. This sweeping series involves 5 immortals, Osiris, Isis, Set, Horus, and Nephthys, on a world on the cusp of collapse and being set anew. This is a brilliant series. I had a little time to spend with Isis beforehand, and let me tell you, there's a lot more to this book than the book descriptions. So I'd like to introduce the author, Isis Charest. Hi, Isis.
Hi, Aaron. Nice to be here.
I'm glad you're here to share with us your story of visionary fiction. How long? Usually we start these interviews with the standard question, what does visionary fiction mean to you?
Well, for me, visionary fiction is being able to walk into the future and see it, and then bring that information back and share it with people. I noticed from some of the visionary fiction that's coming up, it's different than what I would have said it was, but we all are different, so we're all learning different things.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing that I've discovered about visionary fiction is typically when you think of a genre, you can pretty much encapsulate it into a concept. But visionary fiction isn't so easy to do. It's more like an octopus. You've got one arm going over here to, YA, you have another one going here over to the magical realism, another tentacle going over to the more science fiction-y and fantasy and, historical fiction. I find it very fascinating that, it kind of boils down to that concept of transformation.
Yeah.
And how someone, the character or the earth or the world, transforms upward, evolves, or becomes enlightened. We all use different terms. And you had a transformation of your own as well. That kind of started you on this journey. You had a car accident in 1980, and that turned your world upside down. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
It certainly did. I had my own business in Idaho, and as an interior designer, and I hit a parked car, didn't hurt anybody, but I remember driving home and driving up my driveway and going like, where am I? I don't know where I am. I didn't know who I was. And, but I felt comfortable to walk into my house. I had no idea that the front of my car was totally caved in. And my husband comes down and says, what happened to you? I have blood coming down my face. I've lost one of my shoes getting out to see what was wrong with the car. I just looked totally disheveled, and he took me to the hospital. And I had some things done there, and then I came home and I thought I was going to die. I thought I had died. It was a very intense experience and the beginning of my disconnection from my family. I've learned since about changing frequencies and that we are many frequencies, and that when we shift frequencies, we feel like a different person. We have to basically make our way into that. And so I moved from there and went to Seattle, came to Seattle and studied psychic information, how to do past life readings. And I did numerous past life readings, but to do one, I could see their past, but I had to deal with all the emotion of what they went through. And it was like, this is way too much work. So I started doing rebirthing, which is helping people breathe, because we hold everything in our body with our breath. All the pain, all the anger, all the whatever that we don't want to express. So I had to shift frequencies again.
Wow.
Each time I have changed professions, I have had to change frequencies. So it's kind of like recognizing how many. I remember one past life reading I did where this woman told me that, well, I saw that before she came into this body, she looked at all the different past lives that she'd had, and she decided what she wanted to do in this lifetime, and that a couple of those past lives would be there in different frequencies to help her. But then this other past life would be there as a challenger. And here was all of her frequencies were working together in a way, but not necessarily the way we think of working together.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, there's the, the dualistic concept of good and evil, positive and negative energy. You can't have one with the other, because
Without the other. Yeah.
They work together in ways that are sometimes opposite of what we would think, like you said.
Definitely opposite of what the logical mind would think.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's because they're not logical, they're spiritual. So I noticed in your bio that a lot of your work came to evolution through dreams. When you started writing out the material that was coming into you, how did it just like download all at once, or does it come to you in pieces? Or is it like a movie that you go and you watch one episode one day and then the episode another day? And
probably more like that. But there was no voice. It was all pictures, and I could see what was going on. But in the writing, I had to put voice to it all.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
That was the most challenging part, become each person.
Each character and no, I mean, a lot of authors talk about, character backstory, where their main characters, we as readers only see a small segment of them.
Mm-hmm.
And in a multi-book series, you still may only really get a grasp of 75% of that character, because backstory doesn't always have to be explained as exposition.
You're in the present moment usually in the story, and their past isn't in that present moment, so you can't really share it all, or it would be too long of a story, right?
True. Well, who knows? There's 11-book series out there.
Yeah.
So now in the Awakening Earth Chronicles, it starts out with Osiris and Isis and them needing to return to Earth to kind of fix what they kind of messed up with in the past.
I would say that Osiris and Isis had healed their trauma through many, many different lifetimes and were finally here in this present time.
Okay.
So it's more of a present time that they have to meet. And then synchronicity begins to bring the others together once Isis and Osiris come together. But that was like a huge thing for them to come together in the present moment because Seth had killed them so many times.
So do you think from your real life experiences with past life regression and your other services abilities, do you think that is maybe a part of a story of soulmates? Isis and Osiris were soulmates, and in order to accomplish whatever the fates were going to do with them, they had to come together at some point. And do you believe soulmates know that they're soulmates of somebody before they meet?
I suppose I used to think that, but I'm not sure how I believe in that anymore. But I think they do reside within us if I am willing to open that frequency, that Osiris is there with me. In fact, they've all been with me in different frequencies since I finished the books.
Wow. Well, I mean, obviously you have a strong connection to them because they came to you with the impetus to get this story and make it real and get their message out.
Well, basically, they found out after many lifetimes of healing that they had imprinted the emotional body of Earth, of Gaia, with murder, with hatred, with those bad things. That wasn't their intention. But once they did it, they had to heal all of that within themselves before they could come back together and try to do what their intention was.
Oh, okay.
So it's bigger.
So you would book 1 and 2 are basically the story of them regrouping and beginning the process, right?
And number 2 is the healing that has to happen to bring the Native Americans together in this country for healing.
Yeah.
And then the Blacks were brought together in book 3. And that is a type of uniting. And so with book 3,
the title is Fear of Uniting. And I think that's a very interesting concept, because when I think of uniting with people on a cause or something, I'm energized. I'm not fearful. But what would make people afraid? Because it's too powerful?
Well, people were having dreams sent by Gaia to step into a new part of themselves. And they quite often didn't understand what the dreams were until the president, who was having both the scary dreams and the dreams of stepping forward, was able to explain it to the country in a televised interview type of thing. And still, it's kind of like right now where we have two very different views. So many millions of people voted for Trump, and so many more millions voted for Biden. And this is about beliefs and what is true and what isn't. So our beliefs can hold us in a certain place, whether we want to be there or not. We have to change our beliefs before we can unite with that other system.
Yeah.
That other.
And as we all know, change is often scary,
Yes.
especially when it considers having to look within and change yourself.
Especially what?
When you have to look within to change yourself.
Oh,
That's the scariest.
right. Yeah,
So-
because you have to trust yourself. And our culture is more about money than about life. So it doesn't really want us to trust ourselves.
Yeah,
And so
kind of a sad state of affairs.
I think in visionary fiction, that would be one of the big lessons, is usually the main character has to learn to trust themselves.
Yeah, I would agree. So is there a hint of a book 4, maybe?
I've started writing book 4, but it is such a blowout for me. I haven't been able to put it out or finish it.
It's been
So
a little trouble pulling it together.
no, it's a little trouble looking into that future.
Oh, ooh. Okay, now I really want to read book 4.
It's not what I imagined, but then none of it has been.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, sorry.
Oh, look at that cute little dog. He's like
Giselle,
mine. I have a Chihuahua too.
she gets jealous during Zooms. I've tried locking her out the door, but she'll scratch the rug apart to get in.
Oh, right.
All right. Well, on that note, thank you for disturbing our show. Do you have anything you would like to cover before we go? I know we will have links to Isis's books throughout the video and at the end, isischarest.com. Am I pronouncing that correctly?
Yep.
ISISCHAREST.com, where you can get all the latest updates for Isis and her books.
Is there a moment to share one more thing?
Sure.
Okay. Before we were scheduled to do the interview earlier, I asked some of the people that I knew that were reading it or had finished reading it if they would just write a few words about what it was for them. And this one was my favorite out of the 4 that came. She said, "Your dialogue was scribed in a way that was a gentle nudge toward the awakening of the individual reader, a precise reminder of why we as individuals are here on this plane. The intuitive, the healer, the dreamer, one who talks to trees and horses and rocks, the artists. As I read, I could see you weaving us all into this beautiful soul cloth. Our purpose to step forward together as one for the highest good of all, reminding us that we may walk as a solitary, but in truth are supported and loved by many. A tribe of women that will no longer be silent."
Nice. That's very nice.
Yeah, that touched my heart.
Yeah. We have to make sure that's, emblazoned on your website and stuff. So, all right. Well, thank you so much for joining me and Isis Charest on another episode of the Visionary Fiction Author Interview Series. See you all later.
Thank you. It was nice visiting with you, Aaron.
Thank you. Same here. Bye-bye.
Bye.